Greetings to all present in the audience. This is Harsh Vardhan Bhaskar, and it is my pleasure to be giving my first TED Talk in front of all of you fine folks. The title of my TED Talk is From Fear to Flow, the Conquering Battle of Overcoming Stage Fright. Before I delve into the topic, I would like to start with a quote from the Great Nelson Mandela, a beacon of persistence and resilience. The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. Public speaking. Two words that used to send shivers down my spine. The bigger the audience, the faster my heart would turn into a drum inside my ribs. And being a heart patient, this further triggered a cascade of anxiety fueled by the terrifying what if of a heart attack. It used to haunt me up until very recently when one of the most particular and significant incidents occurred, and as jarring as it was, it changed me permanently and for the better. This incident was my first group project presentation at Jaipur Institute of Management back in my first trimester. It was a disaster, but as everything happens for a reason, this one served its purpose and it changed me permanently and for the better. The presentation was for our end-term assessment, and naturally, we had poured weeks of research into the topic and had also done my fair share of work to be prepared for my part. On the day of our presentation, I had been watching the other team speak and they were doing fairly good, and this became an additional cause of tension for me. What if I couldn't do as well, or what if the recency bias would make my delivery fall short when compared to the previous ones? When the moment to deliver arrived, I felt a strange trembling in my hands. I could feel the intense sweat run all over my body, and when I got up to speak, I could hear my heartbeat at a rapid pace. By the time I started speaking, my mind went blank. All the lines that I had practiced so much vanished from my mind like smoke. My voice became but a shaky whisper. Every fumble and every stutter just went on to confirm my worst fear. I felt like I was an imposter, a fraud with nothing valuable to offer, someone who was just wasting the evaluator's time. And while this nervousness was growing inside of me, I noticed one of the panelists' faces and just quickly went on to assume that their blank facial expression meant that they were already bored of my presentation. This made me panic even more, and I rushed to wrap up my little speech, leaving behind the best insights and the points not as properly explained as I had hoped to. Afterwards, the disappointment was all over me. Even though my teammates were kind, I knew that I was capable of so much more. But that experience, mortifying as it was, became the catalyst for my change. I refused to let that fear dictate my future. I started with practicing presentations in front of a mirror, and then later on with my family and close friends. Deep breathing exercises became my technique for grounding myself in the present. I studied the psychological aspects of stage fright to know why it affects us so much, and so that that knowledge would become my shield against ignorance and fear. I worked on learning techniques like visualization to help me recall my content if I blanked out mid-speech, and focusing on the message instead of myself so to decrease the spell of self-consciousness and anxiety. Slowly but surely, I have begun to see this change in myself. My diction has become more clear and crisp, and hence the presentations go smoother, and the voice is also steadier with lesser amounts of break. I have learned to embrace the pauses and not taking them as awkward silences but as opportunities to gather my thoughts and connect with the audience. Now, the nervous energy is still there, but it's a different kind of energy when I stand on stage. It's the buzz of anticipation, the excitement of sharing my knowledge and igniting a spark in others. Now, for me, public speaking isn't just about overcoming fear. It's about unlocking a powerful tool for connection, speaking on topics that are relevant and important, and contributing in a way that can transform the world. It's about amplifying my voice to convey my thoughts and ideas when they deserve to be heard. So I would like to conclude my story with a thought that I'd like all of you to go home with, that we should focus on the stories we have to tell and their undue impact on the world around us, and not on the petty little fears that hold us back. Thank you very much. You have been a lovely audience.